podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie Fee. Happy Pride Month, everyone.
They can take it off the calendars, but not take it from our hearts.
Is it off the calendar, too?
Oh, is it? I thought they did the rest of everyone else's, so...
That's true.
I kind of assumed maybe they did it for this one, but...
I don't know. I stopped paying attention to some things just because mental health. So, yeah. Yeah, so last year, what did we do for Pride last year? We did a history
ones, and
did we do statistics?
I think so. We did it for
I know we did history.
Yeah, I think we did some kind of history.
Some kind of
for it.
Yeah, thing with that. This year we are going to do a couple, highlight a couple queer artists. Was there anything, I guess, are we jumping right into it, or was there anything to talk about before that?
No, nothing's really happened.
No.
No.
Okay. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I only have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We basically just picked one artist to highlight. And I think I had told you...
feels very reminiscent to the podcast that I listen to right now, Box of Oddities, and it's a husband and wife duo, and they each bring some odd little story in.
Oh, okay.
So also, we don't have to worry about extending time because we can make them short this time because we're trying to fit each story in. So
true. Yeah,
it works. Hopefully we didn't pick the same one. I am a
that
little
was the
worried.
thing I was gonna say was I told her to text me who she was doing, and then she never did. But I also never texted you who I was doing. So
I thought about that yesterday when we were recording. I was like, should we go over? But then we never did. I was like,
yeah. Oh. I feel like when I was like, do we want to just each highlight someone? I was very vague about what that meant. So I'm curious to see how both of us interpreted that phrase. Our prompt. I guess I can go first.
Okay.
Because mine is someone who's I guess farther back in history.
Okay.
So maybe I don't know.
I'm scared now.
I don't know who yours is.
Okay.
So I'm just well, maybe we start chronologically farther back, but again, I don't know whose yours is yet, so we'll see. So I picked Ma Rainey.
Okay.
Have you heard of her at all?
No.
So she's mother of the blues.
Okay.
So we're way back into 1920s and stuff. So I went way back in history. Actually, I just looked up a list. I think I wrote down the list. The link. There was one that was 60 pioneering or LGBTQ plus musicians, 60 pioneering artists you need to know. And she was on there, and I was I kind of like the idea of going farther back in history. So I was let's do her.
We definitely had very similar thought processes, but I'll explain mine later. So.
Okay. Oh no, it's okay. As long as it's not Ma Rainey. So we're good. So a lot of this I got from her Wikipedia page, to be honest.
I also used Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And I was I hate being, but but sometimes people do good on Wikipedia.
I feel it used to be taboo to use in school for book or not book reports, research projects, and then they're actually no, Wikipedia is good now because you can go to the sources that they cite,
right, exactly,
and check stuff. I did not check the sources. I just trusted that Wikipedia was good.
Well,
so
they said even during high school research paper days, it was use Wikipedia as if you're completely stuck on where to start, use it to just go down to the sources at the bottom and just use all those links because those are actual sources, and then go from there. So
yeah. But I basically went through her Wikipedia and tried to cut down some of it, but a lot of it is just reading Wikipedia.
That's fine.
Full disclosure.
So is mine. So
and then I have a different article as well. So Gertrude Ma Rainey was an American blues singer and influential early blues recording artist. Dubbed the Mother of the Blues, she bridged earlier vaudeville and the authentic expression of Southern blues, influencing a generation of blues singers. Rainey was known for her powerful vocal abilities, energetic disposition, majestic phrasing, and a moaning style of singing. Her qualities are present and most evident in her early recordings, Boll Weevil Blues and Moonshine Blues. A lot of blues songs I picked up from this have the word blues in them.
Yeah, old school blues was like that. I think I've talked about it on here. in the past, but one of the prompts that I had when I was at Interlochen was to write a blues song.
Okay.
And
so you put blues in the title?
no, I didn't. But it's very basic blues, and everyone loved this song for some reason. Like, I made a music video, it's no longer online because I can't stand it. And everyone loves it, but because everyone's like, oh my gosh, you have such like a great like classic kind of voice. Like, I do really good like rockabilly, like old Patsy Cline and like Dolly Parton fit my voice really well. But it's just not the music that I want to be making. But it's fun. Like, I love singing blues and like R&B style things. And I wish I had I really work hard on trying to get the like Renee Rappness vocability of having like R&B influences. But I know I'm like technically not as like precise with my runs as I want to be and things like that, but I practice runs like every single day because it's something I'd love to be able to do. But it's like a genre that if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right and respectfully, as I know there's a lot of culture surrounding those types of genres, and I don't want to be imposing on like the history of those types of genres. So
anyways.
But I definitely have a lot of R&B influences. Like, me, you, Christian, and Sammy wrote a song recently, and I said, think 90s Mariah Carey, and that's what we wrote. And it's very, like, R&B styled, like, thing. And that's what I love. Like, I love using influence of R&B in my sounds a lot, so.
Yeah.
It's definitely there.
Okay, so born Gertrude Pridgett, Ma Rainey married William Pa Rainey in February 1904, and she took the stage name Ma Rainey, which was a play on her husband's nickname Pa. Pridgett began her career as a performer at a talent show in Columbus, Georgia, when she was approximately 12 to 14 years old. A member of the First African Baptist Church, she began performing in black minstrel shows. Rainey said she found blues music when she was in Missouri one night performing, and a girl introduced her to a sad song about a man leaving a woman. Rainey said she learned the lyrics of the song and added it to her performances. Rainey claimed she created the term blues when asked what kind of song she was singing. So I guess, like, just because it was a sad song, it made you feel blue.
I mean,
kind
that's
of
exactly what the blues is. It's a soul connection to a very extreme feeling of like longing and sadness, but I mean it also goes in the other way of like rejoicement and so I've also done a lot of blues classes in high school, so I'm very well versed on the genre.
Beginning in 1914, the Raineys were billed as Rainey and Rainey, assassinators of the blues. Wintering in New Orleans, she met numerous musicians, including Joe King Oliver, Louis Armstrong, Sidney Bechet, and Pops Foster. As the popularity of blues music increased, she became well known, and around this time she met Bessie Smith, a young blues singer who was also making a name for herself. They became so close that rumors circulated that their relationship was possibly also romantic in nature.
I guess I'm like sitting here thinking, and I like totally forgot what we were talking about. I was like, oh wow, this is just so interesting. And I'm like sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's giving Evelyn Hugo. And then I was like, oh, Bessie Smith, we've talked about her in the past there. And then I was like, and I did the dun dun dun. And then when I was saying that, I was like, oh wait, that was the whole point. That wasn't a big twist, Alex.
It's all good.
I'm like, ooh, there's a twist. No, there's not. That's the episode, honey.
That is the episode. It was also rumored that Smith once bailed Ma Rainey out of jail. So there's that too. From the late 1910s, there was an increasing demand for recordings by black musicians. In 1920, Mamie Smith was the first black woman to be recorded. If you go back to, I don't remember the episode number, but our Black History Month episode, Alex talked about Mamie Smith.
Why does this sound so familiar? Because I talked about it. Okay.
Yeah. So we have a whole thing with Mamie Smith's story as well in a different episode. In 1923, Rainey was discovered by Paramount Records producer J. Mayo Williams. She signed a recording contract with Paramount, and in December, she made her first 8 recordings in Chicago, including Bad Luck Blues, Bowieville Blues, and Moonshine Blues. She made more than 100 other recordings over the next 5 years. 105 years is so much, which brought her fame beyond the South. Although most of Rainey's songs that mention sexuality refer to love affairs with men, some of her lyrics contain references to lesbianism or bisexuality, such as the 1928 song Prove It On Me. And I did
Prove
not.
It on Me?
Yeah, I did
Sounds
not.
so sexual.
Okay.
The title.
I didn't look it up to like listen to, but they have like a stanza of it. Um, they said I do it, ain't nobody caught me, sure gotta prove it on me. Went out last night with a crowd of my friends. They must have been women because I don't like no men.
Ooh, no, she's given. And it's like, okay, so I saw recently, because everyone's like, this Pride Month is canceled because like Fletcher's now dating a man,
Oh, yeah.
JoJo Siwa's dating a man, Billie Eilish is dating a man now, and she's dating supposedly Nat Wolff from the Naked Brothers band. Also,
Okay.
I had the biggest crush on Nat Wolff. He was my two out of the brothers. I was like, oh, Nat Wolff. I also love him in Paper Towns, and You Can Come For Me. I know that's a unlovable opinion about that movie, but you know what? It's my like cheesy comfort chick flick movie, and I will die on that hill, even though I don't like Cara Delevingne. But that's a whole other story. But anyways. Back to wait.
There's two more lines of this stanza too.
I was gonna say something. Oh, but everyone, I saw a TikTok that was like, why is it the only straight woman hates men right now? Because Sabrina Carpenter is like, ew, men, and she actively hates it, but she is straight. Yet all of the gay women now are dating boys.
Yeah,
and I thought it was just funny and ironic. Yeah.
The last two lines I think are supposed to rhyme, but like I said, I didn't listen to it, so I think they're trying. I think the way she pronounces it makes it rhyme. But it's true, I wear a collar and tie, makes the wind blow all the while. And I think maybe all the while.
While and tie.
Okay, this is going to get a little sexually explicit for this next part, so just a warning there. According to the Queer Cultural Center's website, the lyrics refer to an incident in 1925 in which Rainey was, quote, arrested for taking part in an orgy at her home involving women in her chorus, end quote.
Okay.
The political activist and scholar Angela...
Is that when she got bailed out of jail by Bessie?
I don't know. Actually, it could probably... I don't know if she's been in jail any other time, so maybe. Political activist and scholar Angela Y. Davis noted that Prove It On Me is a cultural precursor to the lesbian cultural movement in the 1970s, which began to crystallize around the performance and recording of lesbian-affirming songs. At the time, an ad for the song embraced the gender bending outlined in the lyrics and featured Rainey in a three-piece suit mingling with women while a police officer... Why did I almost say priest?
Don't go there, Katie.
Don't go there. A police officer lurks nearby. So I guess it's like tying into her being arrested or whatever with the police officer. And then the three-piece suit with the wear collar and tie thing. So, yeah. Unlike many blues singers of her day, Rainey wrote at least a third of the songs she sang, so that's cool. She's a songwriter too, and not just a singer, including many of her most famous works, such as Moonshine Blues and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which would become standards of the classic blues genre. Throughout the 1920s, Ma Rainey had a reputation for being one of the most dynamic performers in the U.S., due in large part to her songwriting, showmanship, and voice. Rainey was well known for defying heteronormativity, helping to create spaces where different sexual identities could openly be themselves. And in 1935, she returned to her hometown of Columbus, Georgia, and became the proprietress of 3 theaters, the Liberty in Columbus, the Lyric, and the Aerodrome in Rome, Georgia, until her death, and she died of a heart attack in 1939. So that's her life. So Ma Rainey created what is now known as classic blues while also portraying black life like never before. As a musical innovator, she built on the minstrelsy and vaudeville performative traditions with comedic timing and a hybrid of American blues traditions she encountered in her vast tours across the country. She helped to pioneer a genre that appealed to North and South, rural, and urban audiences. In her lyrics, Rainey portrayed the black female experience like few others of the time, reflecting a wide range of emotions and experiences. In her 1999 book, Blues, Legacies, and Black Feminism, Angela Davis wrote that Rainey's songs are full of women who, quote, explicitly celebrate their right to conduct themselves as expansively and even as undesirably as men, end quote. In her songs, she and the other black women sleep around for revenge, drink and party all night, and generally live lives that, quote, transgressed these ideas of white middle-class female respectability, end quote. The portrayals of black female sexuality, including those bucking heteronormative standards, fought ideas of what a woman should be and inspired Alice Walker in developing her characters for The Color Purple. Bragging about sexual escapades was popular in men's songs at the time, but her use of these themes in her works established her as both fiercely independent and fearless, and many have drawn connections between her use of these themes and their modern use in hip-hop.
Oh.
And so Rainey was inducted in Blues Foundation's Hall of Fame in 1983, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 1990. In 2004, CC Rider Blues, which was performed in 1924, was inducted in the Grammy Hall of Fame and added to the National Recording Registry by the National Recording Preservation Board of the Library of Congress. That's a long name.
And is she still alive?
No.
Okay.
She died of a heart attack in 1939. Did you miss that part?
Yeah.
Yes. She was born in 19 something.
That's what I was confused about. I was like, there's no
18 something.
But then like
she
all
was
this
married
stuff
in 1904.
Was, like, yeah, but then you like kept going with like the 70s and The Color Purple and the 90s, and I was like,
well, because her influence is well beyond. Her influence goes well beyond her life. So
well, no, yeah, obviously. It's just I was like, wait, I think I missed something here. She really like did that in a time that like we can say like yes and go girl and like all this stuff now, but like back then I'm sure it was so controversial and so like taboo and all these things, and like it was probably just we would be looking at it very differently if we lived in the same time period, or, you know, or even like 20 years ago and listening to that stuff, you know, so, and her influence on things. So it's just a little reflection point there.
Yeah. I feel like it's, I don't know, I liked her of being someone like so far back in history of like her prime was like 100 years ago. And so like, obviously back then it wasn't common for people to be out and like openly expressing in lyrics anything other than just like straightness. So but then I also like that she is a pioneer for Black women and just like women in general. She's doing all these things that weren't necessarily common at the time, like it mentioned of men would sing about these things, but you wouldn't see women singing about them. So yeah, she's kind of a pioneer in
and they would
several
sing
aspects.
About like even like they were still so closeted, so it was like they were still talking about lewd experiences, but like I mean you didn't get into even like the bisexualityness of it all, I feel like, until Elton John and David Bowie came around on the scene in the 70s and 80s. So
what else did I have before the article? Oh, there's a museum, I guess, in Columbus to honor her legacy, and it's the house that she built for her mother and later lived in from 1935 until her death in 1939. So there's a little museum. There is a International Blues Festival held in her hometown as well, and she was awarded either way a posthumous Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2023, so not that long ago. Wow. And the announcement noted her deep voice and mesmerizing stage presence, and that she recorded almost 100 records, many of them national hits that are now part of the American musical canon. So that was all of the Wikipedia stuff. And then I found another article. So the song Black Bottom, I guess, became a play. This guy named August Wilson made a play of the same name based off of the song, and now there's a Netflix film of it that came out in 2020. So there was like an article talking to actress Taylor Page, who plays Ma's lover, Dussie Mae. So I was like, okay, I'll take some stuff that kind of talks about her for that too. So Netflix film Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, based on August Wilson's play of the same name and the playwright's first Broadway hit, follows the mother of blues and her band during a recording session on one sweltering Chicago afternoon. Viola Davis stars as the titular character. I don't know how to say that word. The person whose name is
Titular,
in the
yeah.
title. Yes, Ma Rainey, alongside the late Chadwick Boseman. Okay, I was like, who is this quote by? For a second, I had to read forward. So director George C. Wolfe told the New York Times, I think one of the reasons that August was drawn to her is that she lived outside the rules. And when somebody lives outside the rules, it becomes very clear what the rules are. If you were a black woman, if you waited around for somebody to acknowledge your power, it was never going to happen. So you had to claim your power, end quote. The excellently cast ensemble film largely centers on the struggle for power between Ma Rainey's blues band and the white record producers who profit from her music. One scene shows Ma refusing to sing unless the producers buy her a Coca-Cola. Quote, they don't care nothing about me, she says. All they want is my voice. Well, I done learned that, and they gonna treat me the way I want to be treated, no matter how much it hurt them. However, a key part of the film is Ma's relationship with her girlfriend, Dussie Mae, and what happens when trumpet player Levy tries to steal her away from Ma. And I think Levy is the one that Chadwick Boseman plays. So I don't think that was mentioned earlier. Women's Health caught up with actress Taylor Page, who plays Dussie Mae, to learn more about the real people who inspired the film and how Ma Rainey subverted the prevailing heterosexual norms of the 1920s. So we already talked about how she openly sang about her affairs with women. 3 of Ma's hundreds of songs contain references to her bisexuality. The most famous example, Prove It On Me Blues, was recorded near the end of her contract with Paramount, and we already did the lyrics earlier, so we don't need to scroll back up and find them. Still, Ma's sexuality wasn't the focus of her music. I don't want to overplay the significance of the 3 songs that Ma wrote and recorded that had some references to lesbianism and homosexuality. Robert Phillipson, who directed the 2011 documentary Tain't Nobody's Business, Queer Blues Divas of the 1920s, told Collectors Weekly, which also sounds like an interesting documentary to look into. That's a handful out of hundreds and hundreds of blues songs that were recorded. The fact that there were any was remarkable given the times. You certainly never saw it in any other part of American culture. Ma Rainey and the other lesbian and bisexual female blues performers were trailblazers. Even during the 1980s, white male performers like George Michael and Freddie Mercury struggled to come out as queer, so it was pretty revolutionary for a black woman to be singing about queer love in the 1920s. Taylor considered it her duty to carry on that revolution, though how she portrayed Ma and Dussie's through how she portrayed Ma and Dussie's relationship. I just feel like I had to honor those that didn't get to do what they wanted to do or had to live an oppressed, secretive life, she says. In the 1920s, there was a real risk of being arrested and jailed for homosexuality. And even this year, there's been a disconcerting rise in hate crimes against LGBTQ people, according to the Human Rights Campaign. And this was 2020, but I mean, that still happens today, unfortunately. For me, it's just like there are an infinite amount of ways to be a woman, and none of the ways make you less than the other, just because it's different than some heteronormative consciousness, Taylor says. Sexuality is the last thing that matters. Ma is a woman, and she happens to sleep with who she wants to sleep with, just like any man does, end quote. And that's the end of the article.
Okay.
So I just kind of wanted to find something that was a little bit more perspective of, I guess, her queerness and like how her music was pioneering in that aspect and stuff. So I was like, let's find another article and not just the Wikipedia. But yeah, I haven't watched the film yet, but I feel like I might watch it at some point just to get more context.
Yeah.
And Viola Davis is great. She's a great actress. Okay, so that was Ma Rainey, and now I get to learn who we all get to learn who Alex picked.
So I was like, oh, I've been doing a lot of like, and I kind of thought maybe you'd think the same way. So I was like, this seems like maybe the easy route, because I also did for like Black History Month, I did like the first female or artist, I think, or something like that. Or maybe I did that for women. I don't know. One of the episodes I did was on
Black History, because women's we just did like statistics and we didn't like pick a woman.
Okay. So I again Googled first openly gay artist. Anyways, so he was born. So
name.
his sorry, really. So his name is Bruce Wayne Campbell. But he went by the stage name Jobriath. I so hope I am singing that right now. But he was an American rock musician and actor, and he was the first openly gay rock musician to be signed to a major label,
Okay.
and one of the first internationally famous musicians to die from AIDS.
Oh.
So, I figured that was all very relevant to everything. So, he was born in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, which is near where I'm from. Fun fact for you. Jobriath Jobriath showed early musical talent for playing the piano and soon played organ in his local church. It was during this time that his talents led him to being introduced to Eugene Ormandy as a child prodigy. While he was a high school student, he became further interested in classical music and favored composers such as a Russian name that I'm not going to be able to pronounce, and I am so sorry about that.
Can I see it? Sergei Prokofiev or something. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't know how to say it either. I thought it was going to be like Tchaikovsky or something. I was like, you should know that.
Know that, yes. Thank you, Katie.
Sorry.
He wrote the first two movements of his first symphony by his senior year in high school, but for reasons unknown, chose not to complete it. After he graduated from Upper Merion High School in 1964, Jobriath took an interest in folk music. Partly inspired by seeing Peter, Paul, and Mary in concert several times, he briefly formed a folk group with the help of his music teacher, who arranged for identical twins, Marty and Grace, to join him. As a trio, they named themselves The Last Three and played several regional shows in the PA area before Marty and Grace departed for college. While Jobriath attended Temple University for one semester in the music program, he soon dropped out. He was drafted into the U.S. Army in the mid-60s and went AWOL within months, renaming himself Jobriath Salisbury, and he relocated to Los Angeles. After accompanying a friend to the audition for the musical Hair as a piano player, he impressed the producer and director with his singing and talents on the piano. He was soon cast by the director Tom O'Horgan into the leading role of Wolf, a character implied to be gay. He appeared in the legendary West Coast production of the Aquarius Theater on Sunset Boulevard. It's the oven. Despite receiving positive reviews for his performance, he was fired from the production for upstaging the other actors. Okay. After leaving the production in 1969, he joined the folk rock band Pigeon, which Pigeon doesn't look right. I don't know. Which was then signed to Decca Records as their lead singer, pianist, and guitarist. The band recorded a debut album originally titled First Flight from the Forest, which was retitled by their label as the self-titled Pigeon. Okay. And shortly after the album's release, the band released the single Rubber Bricks, also known as single Rubber Bricks and Prison Walls before disbanding. Both were produced by Stan Farber. At this time, he was traced by the military police and arrested, spending nearly 6 months in a military psychiatric hospital after suffering a breakdown. During this period, he began writing the songs.
Because he left the army or something, military, and so he
went AWOL. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
During this period, he began writing the songs that would lead to his next musical incarnation. Oh my gosh. So, in mid-December 1972, Jerry Brandt, Carly Simon's former manager, overheard a demo tape being played by Clive Davis at Columbia Records. Davis rejected the tape as mad, unstructured, and destructive to melody, but Brandt was quick to step in. Jobriath later remarked that coming from a man who discovered both Patti Smith and Barry Manilow, so much for sanity and structure, Brandt located Jobriath in California, where he was living in an unfurnished apartment and was working as a prostitute. Walked this beautiful creature dressed in white, as I said, "Why don't you come out to Malibu and hang out?" This became a feature of the mythology used to promote Jobriath and helps to explains the bitterness that followed the dissolution of their professional and personal relationship. Brandt signed Jobriath, now calling himself Jobriath Brune, to Elektra Records for a reported $500,000. $500,000 in what was allegedly the most lucrative recording contract of its time. Jobriath was signed to a 2-album deal. A huge marketing campaign and media blitz ensued, including full-page advertisements in Vogue, Penthouse, and Rolling Stone magazines. full-length posters on over 250 New York City buses, and a huge 41-foot by 43-foot billboard in Times Square. All featured the forthcoming debut album sleeve designed by a noted photographer, which featured a nude Jobriath made to resemble an ancient Roman statue. Oh. Plans were announced for a lavish 3-night live debut at the Paris Opera that December at a cost of $200,000 and a subsequent tour of European opera houses. Jobriath informed the press that the show would feature him dressed as King Kong being projected upwards on a mini Empire State Building. This will turn into a giant spurting penis, and I will have transformed into Marlene Dietrich. Electrica, concerned about spiraling production costs, postponed the Paris opera shows until February.
Yeah, that's what they're concerned about.
Later canceling them due to expense. Amidst this barrage of promotion, the debut album Jobriath was released on June 15th, 1973, garnering mostly positive reviews. Rolling Stone stated that Jobriath had talent to burn. Cashbox called it truly one of the most interesting albums of the year, referring to Jobriath as a true Renaissance man who will gain a tremendous following. The album was co-produced by Eddie Kramer, and Jobriath featuring string arrangements by Jobriath, recorded at Olympic Studios with the London Symphony Orchestra. During this period, Brandon continued making extravagant statements as Elvis, the Beatles, and Jobriath, and declaring that both he and Jobriath had booked flights on Pan America's first passenger flight to the moon. Meanwhile, Jobriath declared himself rock's truest fairy, a comment that did little to increase his popularity at the time, but has since confirmed his status as the first openly gay rock singer to be signed to a major record label. Jobriath's debut public performance was made on television when Brandon secured him an appearance on the popular show The Midnight Special. The costumes were designed by him, and the choreography was Joyce Treisler of the Joffrey Ballet. The two songs performed were I'm a Man and Rock of Ages, the later substituting the Take Me, I'm Yours, which was pulled after the production objected to its overtly sadomasochistic theme. Oh. The long-awaited live performance finally came in July 1974 with 2 sold-out shows at New York's Bottom Line Club. Sales for the album, however, were poor, and it failed to secure a chart placing. 6 months after the release, Creatures of the Street was released, again featuring Peter Frampton as well as John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin. In 1975, Jobriath announced his retirement from the music industry and moved into a pyramid-topped rooftop apartment on the Chelsea Hotel in New York City. He attempted to resume his acting career and was invited to audition for the role of Al Pacino's lover in the Dog Day Afternoon film. Calling himself Cole Berlin, a play on both Cole Porter and Irving Berlin. Oh my gosh, I do know his name. He worked as a cabaret singer at a restaurant called the Convent Garden, as well as clubs and cabarets, his income with occasional prostitution. In a 1979 interview, he said that the persona had committed suicide in a drug, alcohol, and publicity overdose. 10 years after, by the time his 10-year contract with Brandon was finally up, Jobriath was sick with AIDS and began to feel ill in late 1981. But still contributed to the Chelsea Hotel's 100th birthday celebration in 1982 and continued to perform cabarets until shortly before his death. And he died at his residence at the Chelsea Hotel. So another list to add up there.
He's another ghost.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Oh, yeah.
If you watch our ghost story episode, we mentioned the Chelsea Hotel because it's haunted by a lot of musicians. So and others, but
that was who he was.
That was who he was.
And honestly, I looked up a couple videos, and the hair thing makes a lot of sense if you know that musical. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And very before Bowie, there was him. It feels like, or I guess.
When did he start? And then when did he retire? Because it didn't feel like it was that long.
No, he retired in 1975, and he started music with his deal.
Deal and stuff.
His deal was in 1969 with Decca Records.
Okay, so like
that was when he joined the folk rock band. When he did his next thing, it was mid-December 1972. Oh yeah, so I guess he really didn't.
He really wasn't around that long as far as like
but he
when
made
he decided to retire.
impact.
But he did a lot in the time he had. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like he was working with like every known person. Peter Frampton was like a huge contributor with his music. They said so. Yeah. Happy Pride, everybody.
The timeline there.
Let us know your favorite queer artist.
Yeah.
In the comments below.
Yeah.
Be nice in the comments. If there's hate in the comments, I will delete it.
Yeah. That. Yeah.
No hate.
If you're local to Nashville and are planning to go to Pride, check out the local stage because we know some of the people playing it, and I'm excited to go see them play. So
yeah, it'll be fun.
That definitely check out local stages as well as the main stage and stuff because there's a lot of different stages with a lot of different talent. So definitely check it all out if you're going. But yeah, you can comment your favorite queer artist, like Alex said, on our YouTube video or on our socials at the Music Lens Podcast. If you, I don't know, have someone you want to shout out queer artist wise or something, or just organization wise, I mean, you can send that to our email at the Music Lens Podcast at gmail.com. We love to support, so definitely can do that as well. You could follow Alex at Alex Allegra Music on all the socials. You can follow me at Katie Fee Music on all the socials. You can also rate and review our episode. Give us 5 stars if you like us, please. And yeah, we will see you next time. Bye. Bye.